Hey guys, it's time to implement Tailwind to make this project look a little bit better. So I have opened up my documentation for the Tailwind CLI. And by the way, you can use this tutorial for any Django project out there if you want to do it with another project and that we are building right now. Anyways, so I'm in the docs and I'm going to use the Tailwind CLI for doing this. So I'm just going to copy this command here, go to the command line, and then I'm in the same folder as, for example, manage.py here. So to install this you need npm and node running on your computer, and then I can just paste this command here, npm install tailwind css and tailwind css CLI. So now it is installed, and you can see that I have a folder called node modules, which should be filled with a little bit like Tailwind CSS and things that Tailwind CSS is dependent on. Next, I need to create a new file where this can be. So if I just go to the editor, and then in the root folder, I create a new folder called static. And in this static folder, I create one more called CSS. In the CSS folder, I create a new file called main.css and paste this line here. Okay, we are still not done, but we are good on the way. So let's copy this here and go back to the terminal and paste it here, npx. So then we'll run the CLI and set that the input field where we want to get Tailwind from, which is this one. We say static css main.css, and we want to output this into something called static css main.min for minified css -- watch, which means that this command will compile this file into there, and watch means that every time we do a change in our project, this will be compiled. So now this will just be running in the background over here. So if I now open up this here, you can see that we have a few things that comes from Tailwind. Okay. If I now try to open up this project in the browser, you can see that nothing has changed. And that's because we have not included this CSS file yet. So let's open up base.html, and below the title we can say link rel style sheet. And the href or the URL for this is a new template tag from Django called static. And I'll just say css/main.min.css and close the link. If I save now, I will get an error because this is an invalid block tag. So did you forget to register or load? Yes, I did. This should go at the top here, load static, and save. And if I then refresh, I get now a new error, a 404, because Django can't find this here. And that's because we have not configured Django to tell Django where the static files are. So you can see that the URL, or the default URL, is this one, but Django still doesn't know where our static files is. So to do that, we say static files _dirs equals, and then a list. In here we paste in or write base _dir, which is configured automatically from Django here, which is the root folder of our project. And then we say /static and save. If I now go back and refresh, you can see that the design changed dramatically because now Tailwind is implemented. Okay, so that's how easy it is to implement Tailwind. Now we can do some changes to the menu to make it look a little bit better. So if I just open up nav.html, I can add a class attribute and say py6 and px8. This gives spacing in the vertical direction and the horizontal direction. It's a little bit clearer if I add the background as well. So bg purple 800, refresh. And maybe we should also set the text to be white, so it's a little bit easier to read what's in here. We can make this a little bit larger by saying text class text XL, refresh, Great. Next up then will be to move the search form over to the right side. So we can say flex to make this a flexible box. So at least now they are next to each other, but they are not even on the same line. To get them on the same line, we set items center, refresh, a little bit better. And now we need to take all this available space and put between these two. And to do that, we say justify between. So we justify all of the space between the available object, which is this h1, and the form. Okay, so I can add a little bit of a background to this field. So here, class py2 to give some space, px4 and bg purple 600, and also rounded corners. We should also do something with this button, so it's a little bit easier to actually see that it is a button. So add a new class attribute. We can say py2 px4, so it's sort of the same size as the input field, and also give this rounded corners. The background can be sky, so bg sky 500, and set the text to be white. Okay, a little bit better. I also want the cursor to change, so cursor pointer. You feel that you can actually click this. Maybe we can have a hover background as well, so hover colon bg sky 700. Awesome. And this space here should also be applied down here and also on the footer. So let's take the footer first. Class py4 and px8. You can set the background color here. bg is slate 800 and text to be white. Nice. And then it's just this as well. So this should be in the base.html around this block tag. So main class py6 px8, fix the indentation and close the main tag. Awesome. Here I want to set the title to be a little bit larger. So I need to open up front page.html. This h1 tag can have a class of text XL and MB6, so you get some default space below the title. Next, I want to move these categories over on the right side. So to do that, I need to split these into two boxes. So I want one box for the content. So you can give this a section and fix the indentation. Remove that HR, and then we also want a sidebar like that and close it. If I save now, nothing happens besides the HR was removed. So I need to convert this into a flexbox, and I want this to take up more than half of the screen. So this section can have a class of w-2/3. So it takes up 66% of the screen, and then this should have the rest. You can add a class to that one as well. w1/3. You can't actually see that it fills out, so we can add the background here, bg gray 100. We can add a space and some rounded corners. So py4, px8 and rounded XL. Great. Next, I want to do some modification to the task, because it's hard to see that this is the title and these are actually buttons you can click. So open up tasks.html and give this a class of font bold. And I want this to be on the left side, so the mark complete, then edit and then delete. The mark complete can be a green text button, so text emerald 500. The edit button can be yellow, so text yellow 500, and the delete button can be red, text rose 600. And then I want these next to each other as well, so I can add a new div here, give it a class name of flex, fix the indentation, close and refresh. And then we need some space between these, so we can say space x4. Great, and maybe each of the tasks should have a background color, so BG gray 100. And then we need some space in there as well, so P-4. And maybe also rounded corners, refresh. And last thing we need to do here then is to add some space between these. So on the front page, we will add the flexbox, space x4. Perfect. If I then go into a category, we can fix the title there as well. So open up detail.html in the category folder, class text XL MB6. Refresh. Okay, so this makes things a little bit better. The forms still looks horrible, but that will be fixed in a separate part of this tutorial series. If you have any questions about Tailwind or anything else, feel free to leave a comment below and I will answer as soon as I can. See you in the next video.